Hey everyone, welcome back to the Upkeep. Today we're going to be going over another Pauper deck tech on Magic the Gathering Online. This particular deck's an Infect deck. It's essentially a Mono Green deck. You'll see a little bit more about that in a second. But the idea is that it's a very inexpensive deck. It can really get in and kill very quickly. It's actually based around Mono Green modern decks because a lot of the cards are actually the same. There's only a few changes we have to make it Pauper. So let's go ahead and take a look through this. I've sorted my cards out here to give you a better look through. So first of all, again, this is Mono Green. We're running 21 forests. We really don't need that many in play to do anything. We could run a little bit lighter maybe, but getting mana screwed in this is really bad because the thing that you're trying to do when you're running a Mono Green Infect deck is you're trying to get a combo in your hand to be able to just outright hit them for 10 poison damage in one hit, done, game over. If you can't do that, then you're going to try to do it in 2 turns. You're going to try to do at least 5 in 1 turn and finish them off the next. But the goal is to have enough in your hand to be able to do that. And it doesn't take that much mana, but it does take a little. So first off, we've got our creatures. We've got 12 creatures in this deck. All of them, of course, do infect damage. So first off, and really the star of this, is Glistener Elf. Glistener Elf costs 1 green for a 1/1 with Infect. So it's really cheap. You can bring him out turn 1, and he's something your opponents have to deal with. Now, something you should think about is that if you do bring him out on turn 1, you are not going to have any way to protect him. So if he is the only creature in your opening hand, you may want to consider waiting to play him until you have the ability to protect him. If you've got more creatures, though, it really doesn't matter. Next up, for just a little more mana, 1 and a green, is Blight Mamba. It's also the same. It's a 1/1 with Infect. The one benefit with Blight Mamba is that you can pay 1 and a green to regenerate it. This is great because it can protect itself. Obviously, you have to have the right mana out to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to play Blight Mamba safely until turn 4. And one of the really nice things about an Infect deck is it is possible to get a round 2 kill with this deck. It's not going to be common. Round 3 is actually somewhat common if things are running good for you. And then to have some more Infect, we have Ickerclaw Mirror. Ickerclaw Mirror is 2 for a 1/1, also with Infect. It has the extra ability, though, that if it becomes blocked, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This really comes in handy specifically when we look at another card in our deck here in a minute, Rancor. So let's actually go ahead and do that. We'll kind of go a little backwards here. My next column of cards here, 19 of them, are the pump spells. Again, the idea with Infect is that you want to get a creature to do 10 poison damage in 1 turn and be done, and you don't care afterwards. So for this, we have Rancor. Rancor costs 1 green, and it's a creature enchantment. That creature gets +2/+0 and has trample. Rancor is also great, and part of the reason we're only running 3 of them in this deck is that's really all we need, because if Rancor is going to go into the graveyard, it comes back to your hand instead, so you get to reuse it. So if your creature you put it on dies, you get to bring it back. Rancor plus ickerclaw makes a great combination because you're able to pump your ickerclaw, attack, and even if they block, it's now going to have trample, and the ickerclaw gets that much bigger. So let's go up to the top of my list here and sort of head down through the rest of the pump spells kind of in order. So first of all, we're running 4 Giant Growths. Giant Growth's just the ubiquitous 1 green, creature gets 3/3. It's cheap. It's a very simple pump. We've also got the big daddy to Giant Growth, Phytoburst. Phytoburst costs 2, but gives you +5/+5. A Phytoburst plus a Giant Growth on a big enough creature, and you're already coming in for damage. A Phytoburst, a Rancor, and a Giant Growth is death. Now, where this can start to get some of those awkward turn 2 or turn 3 wins is with cards like Mutagenic Growth. Mutagenic costs 1 green Phyrexian mana. If you're not familiar, Phyrexian mana, you can either pay the green or you can pay 2 life. Now, it gives the creature +2/+2. So if you're paying green for it, it's a worse Giant Growth. But the fact that you can pay 2 life for this means that you can potentially turn 1 bring out a Glistener Elf, turn 2 play another land, cast a Phytoburst or maybe 2 Giant Growths, and cast a few Mutagenic Growths from your hand using your life and pump that Glistener Elf up to 10 and to death level. We've also got Groundswell. Groundswell is a green and target creature gets +2/+2, but it has a landfall trigger. If you play to land this turn, it now gets +4/+4. So the idea, once you've got enough land on the board, you should never play another forest unless you have 2 in your hand, because you're wanting to be able at any point in time to have that extra forest. So if you top deck a Groundswell, you'll be able to play that forest and then Groundswell for landfall. Now we've also got this set of 8 cards over here that their main purpose are protection and evasion. So first I'll go ahead and go over Vines of Astwood, because the fact is it's also a pump spell. It's one of the things that makes Vines of Astwood so great in this deck. So Vines of Astwood costs 1 green, and the target creature can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. So if they go to kill your creature or to bounce the creature back to your hand, you can cast Vines of Astwood and protect it. But for the kicker cost for adding 1 additional green, it also gets +4/+4 until end of turn. Now, something you do need to be aware of, you have to be careful of the order you're casting things and when you're casting them. A number of times I've seen people go, okay, I'm going to pump Glistener Elf really big by throwing a couple mutagenics, and then Vines of Astwood, and I can't be the target of spells, and now I'm attacking you for the win. But in response to Vines of Astwood, your opponent could still cast something. An opponent that is used to playing against Infect decks will know that Vines is a possibility and will wait until the very last second to do anything to your creature. So you do kind of want to play that game and hold it back as long as you can and use it when the time is right. The other thing we've got is, interestingly, a white card in our mono green deck, and that's because we never, ever expect to pay white mana to cast this. It's Apostle's Blessing. You're always going to be casting this by using your life. It costs 1 and a white Phyrexian. So as far as you're concerned, it's going to cost you 1 mana plus 2 life to cast. And it says target artifact or creature you control gains protection from artifacts or from the color of your choice until the end of turn. So this is doubly useful. First of all, you can stop them killing one of your creatures by putting Apostle's Blessing on it. Secondly, you can also give your creature evasion, since if you give it, say, protection red, none of their red creatures can block you. So it's a great way of making sure that your creature's going to make it in, as well as a way to protect your creatures. So that's the bulk of the deck. There are some other variation versions of this that add in some other colors or some other ideas, but this is the very simple version I've found working well for me. Now we do have a sideboard over here, and some of the sideboard's pretty important, because one of the things you need to worry about is you're trying to kill very quickly, so you need to be able to clear out any blockers along the way if they're happening to run a very aggressive deck also. So first of all, we have Scattershot Archer, and I actually find myself boarding Scattershot Archer in fairly often. What I'm doing in this case is it's if you're playing against a deck with a lot of flying creatures. Delver comes to mind. It's great that you can bring it out for 1. He becomes a pretty good blocker at 1/2, and you're able to tap him to start clearing out flyers. If you're playing against a deck with a lot of birds, if you're playing against a Delver deck, it's great because especially if you get 2 of these out on the board, you can start clearing the board of everything. We've also got Sandstorm. Sandstorm actually produces a similar effect. You're just being able to deal 1 damage to each attacking creature. I tend to bring Sandstorm in if they're playing 1/1s that aren't flying. If they're doing some real aggressive deck and you just want to be able to let them go ahead and attack in, you clear them all out and then you come in afterwards. Nature's Claim is a very cheap, only costs 1 green because we're trying to be very quick here, way to destroy an artifact or enchantment. It does give the controller life, but we don't care about that. We're never going to kill someone via life. We're only going to kill them via infect damage, via poison counters. So it's okay that we're giving them life, and this is very multi-useful. So if they're running specific enchantments that are giving you trouble, or if they're an affinity deck and running tons of artifacts, bringing these in to be able to just punish their artifacts can be extremely useful. The last one we have, which honestly has not been working so well for me, and I may or may not continue to keep it in the future, I need to find a good replacement for it, is Hornets Sting. Hornets Sting, again, kind of has that same idea of you're wanting to be able to clear out creatures. The idea of why it's in the deck is that Sandstorm is better because it deals 1 to all their creatures, but only their creatures that are attacking. Hornet Sting kills an opposing creature offensively. So if they have that 1/1/1 sitting out there ready to block your guy, and you don't have a rancor to make your guy able to trample over him, you could cast Hornet Sting, clear the guy, and then get in for the kill. I've very rarely found myself in a situation where I wanted to run this, however. So I am looking for a good replacement for it. So that's this deck. Check back later, and I will have another video up showing some play testing of this so you can kind of get a feel for how this deck runs. So once again, thanks for tuning in and watching this deck tech. And hey, don't forget your upkeep.